guys, welcome to this series called Miranda's Message, where I will be utilizing my life experience to hopefully inspire you to live a better life.
Shawty's like a melody in my head that I can't keep on. Got me singing. Replay.
So I did a questions box on my Instagram story, and make sure you're following me, Miranda Cone Fit, and I utilize my social media to hopefully give you inspiration for your day, your life, your relationships, your workouts, all the things. So first question is, what are the 5 biggest lessons you've learned since you started posting on social media? Ooh. 5 lessons. Okay, first one would be likes do not mean anything. And what I mean by that is when I first started posting, I just wanted to get validation. I wanted to kind of fill my cup with people liking me. I wanted my posts to have a lot of likes by my name because I thought that that would provide me some sort of value. And to be quite honest with you, likes don't mean anything. Likes do not correlate to people being kind. Likes do not correlate to people being genuine or authentic, and likes don't translate to money. When I first started, it was very hard for me to grow organically. There were a lot of times where I would hit a marker, whether that was like 20,000 followers, 50,000 followers, 300,000 followers, and I would be stuck there for a really long time. And the only way that I was going to get from 20,000 to 50,000 was the efficiency of my consistency of posting every single day. I'm pretty sure there was at least probably between 4 to 5 years where I posted a hard post every single day. There was always something posted. It might have not been a great post, and it might have not been something that I was very proud of, like it might have just been random, but I was very consistent with posting every single day. So if you are someone listening to this and you are wanting to start your own social media brand, I encourage you to post every single day, no matter what. We only get to experience people from our own experience, right? So I have met so many different people, influencers, and I've realized that the way that people post doesn't mean that that is actually who that person is in real life. We can always portray a life lesson or give people wisdom on how to live a better life, or we can say, you know, you guys be kind. You only get to experience people not being kind when you have a personal relationship with them. So a lot of times when we're seeing people post on the internet, in our mind we're like, gosh, this person is so great. This person is believes in God. This person is a godly man or woman. This person has morals and integrity. But that's not always the case for everybody. And I think a lot of times influencers will portray themselves to be a type of way because they know that if they portray themselves to be this way, that they're gonna actually get more followers and more engagement over time. And anyone can talk on being a great person, but when it comes down to it and the pressure's on, in a real life scenario, you get to see how people act. And I've been very disappointed with some of my experiences that I have had with some of these people because I once either respected them. I wouldn't say I idolize people because I try in my mind not to put people in this like higher, I guess, like air bubble in my mind. Like I'm not like looking at people like I want to be like her. Like I try to focus on I want to be the best version of myself, because I think when we get into this idea of idolizing people, it creates this like higher respect for other people rather than having more respect for ourselves. So anyways, back to my original point, I've been very disappointed with some of the experiences that I've had. But on the other hand, I've also met some really great people that will be forever friends or forever people in my life. Everyone does not make money doing social media. And I've had to kind of learn this honestly in my own way, because when I first started, I just wanted a brand deal. I literally just wanted to have a sponsorship. It was, at the time, like 9 years ago, it was very rare to be sponsored. And now that social media has turned into all these different apps time and time again, having a brand deal is almost like normal now. And at the time, I really just wanted to be sponsored, and that was the way that I was going to start making money. And 5 years ago, was it 5 years ago? No. I started personal training in 2017. Yeah, 2017. I started personal training, and that was the way that I was making full-time money. But in order for me to kind of feel fulfilled in my social media experience, I needed to have a brand sponsorship. And I think the confusing aspect about social media is you think that because a person is sponsored by a brand that they're making so much money, and they might be making a great amount of commission, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the brand itself is providing that person with full-time income. I think there's a misconception of what we think influencers make versus what they actually make. As an influencer, I was trying to chase being with all these brands, and it really wasn't about the product itself or the company itself. It was basically to make money, because how do you do this social media life if you don't have any brand sponsorships, right? Or if you're not selling your own product. I was just chasing brand after brand after brand. And right now, I want to focus on more of my life purpose, which is, I think I have a lot of knowledge and wisdom to share. And at this point in my life, I'm not trying to chase just a dollar sign, and I'm not trying to just be a part of things just to be a part of them. And I think that's really important to talk about, because at the end of the day, being on social media and relying on social media as a full-time, I don't even want to say job, like a full-time like lifestyle, it's so much more challenging, and you're faced with so many different hardships than people realize. And just because we see people posting every day doesn't mean that they have a ton of money in their account. It doesn't mean that they're happy. It doesn't mean that they're fulfilled. It means that sometimes people are literally just posting because they are trying to just find a way to honestly pay their rent. And I can actually speak for myself where, there have been times where, I lost a brand sponsorship, and I'm like, I don't even know how I'm going to pay my rent. And that's crazy. When I first started social media, I felt truly like my back was up against the wall, and everybody that once knew me was almost like standing in a line, wanting to see me up in like person or something, and wanted to either point at me, laugh at me, degrade me. I don't even know how to explain it, but like I swear to you, I would walk into a room sometimes, whether I was meeting up with people that were once in my life, or I was going to the gym or things like that, and I remember feeling like I knew people were just talking about me. And that's such a weird feeling to experience, and there's no data behind that, but it was just like a feeling. Or people would send me like group chats of people like making fun of me, like, oh my gosh, like, who does Miranda think she is? Like, she thinks she's somebody. And yeah, at the time when I started social media, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And to be honest with you, sometimes even now, today, I look around and I'm like, okay, I live in Tampa. I post every day on the internet. What am I doing? Like, I can honestly say I've always figured out a way to continue to keep this all moving, but I haven't consistently known what I was doing. Sometimes I just would wake up and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to start doing stuff. And I think you actually like find yourself when you're trying to just do stuff, because it's better that you do stuff rather than to just do nothing and feel sorry for yourself. But genuinely, I did not have a lot of support from my past life, and honestly, just in general from Michigan. I'm not saying that, everyone didn't support me. It's not that. It's just because I chose a different path, I felt so much resistance with people that were once in my life, and it was out of not understanding. Like, I wasn't just posting myself on Snapchat or on, the internet because I was full of myself. I was posting because honestly, I needed a reason to stay alive. And even me saying that is sometimes heartbreaking for me to think back on, because I was this like young girl that had so many dreams and so many aspirations, and no one really knew that part of me. Everyone kind of just knew what they knew of me, and it was hard to receive that support and respect that I felt like I needed from people that knew me. And I look back and I'm like, well, maybe I wasn't, maybe I wasn't a nice person to this person, or maybe I wasn't, I look back and I try to figure out, like, maybe this was my fault. But to be honest with you, I talk to other people that have done social media, and they look at me crazy-eyed, like, what do you mean you didn't have support? Like, what do you mean your hometown wasn't like cheering you on? It was just like, yeah, I mean, I felt like it was just honestly me and Lucas and this vision that we had, and we basically just had each other trying to survive this start of this new chapter. I quit college. I didn't have a degree to fall back on. I didn't have money to fall back on, so when I first started this all, it was like soul shocking. And I think a lot of those moments still are with me, like in my soul, because it reminds me of, wow, like I really tried to just like beat all these different odds. Like I really tried to, say, F the haters, or, F my own mind. And I really just dove into a completely insane life. And it's crazy because we're always one decision away from having a different life. And that's crazy. Okay, next question is, how has your training changed over the years? What's the best workout split for women in your opinion? So how I'm going to answer this question now would be very different if you asked me this question, between 3 to 5 years ago. So for me now, my best workout split for women would be 3 to 4 days of weighted workouts in the gym, and a Pilates class or 2, and steps every day. That's what I'm actually focusing on right now. I haven't done Pilates in about 2 weeks. I really miss it, but I think it's a great way to move your body differently than weights. I think it helps build core. I think that it helps with your flexibility. I think it helps with your endurance and learning how to control your muscles and your mind. Doing a Pilates class for 50 minutes sometimes is a lot more challenging to me than doing my hour, weighted workouts, because typically, I'm filming in the gym. Typically there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of moving pieces. And when I go to Pilates, I find this new level of peace within my soul when I go to these classes. My training over the years has changed drastically. I mean, I went from, having to lift heavy deadlift, squat, and bench. That was what I really focused on in my younger years, in my 20s with training. After I had my breast augmentation, I started to pull back from doing my bench pressing, and still to this day, I don't really bench press, I don't really do pull-ups, and I don't do push-ups like I used to. It feels weird. I don't know how to explain it, and if you're watching this and you've had a breast augmentation, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It just feels weird. And when we moved to Florida, I was still deadlifting and squatting heavy, but it just got to a point where we were traveling a lot, we were on the go, and sometimes I didn't have 3 to 4 hours to spend in the gym, because when you think about it, you're getting to the gym, you have to warm up, especially if you're deadlifting and you're squatting, you have to efficiently warm up. So we're talking warm up time, warm up sets, then your actual working sets, then you have a whole rest of your workout to do, and then on top of that doing cardio. I mean, that's 3 to 4 hours in the gym. And I got to a point where I had to ask myself, is this really worth it? Is this efficient to utilize time, because I was getting on meetings, I had different things I had to do during the day, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm spending so much time in the gym, I have no time for anything else. So I started to kind of pull back on my heavy lifting. And not that I don't lift heavy now, it's just I focus more on training and being consistent with my execution in the gym. I felt like when I was lifting heavy and that was more of my focus, I felt like if I didn't hit a certain weight number that I was a failure. I got to a point where, if I couldn't deadlift 365 pounds for reps, I'm like, oh, that was a horrible workout day. And it doesn't have to be like that. So now in this point in my life, I'm not trying to chase a number with a workout exercise. I'm not trying to just demolish myself in the gym. Like I'm more focused on having wholesome workouts. I'm more focused on feeling great in the gym. I'm more focused on my fuel for the gym, my nutrition, and I'm focused on really enjoying the gym and remembering why I started this all in the first place. And that was to hopefully inspire just one person. Last question. So I'm only doing 3. I'm not sure if I'm going to do this again for the next YouTube video. I think the next YouTube video I want to get into more of how I got started into social media and my experience with that. The last question is, was there a time when you thought you can't? When was it you decided I'll make it? And this is a very interesting question because I still think about this still to this day. I mean, I would be lying to you if I told you, today I have it all figured out, or I'm not doubting myself just a little bit. The beauty of showing up is truly a beautiful thing, because when you really think that you can't do something and you still choose to show up for the day, you're already winning. Like you're already winning the day. When you make the decision of, I'm not going to be a lazy POS today and I'm going to do the things I don't want to do, that's when you know you're on the right path. You might not have all the answers to your questions and you might not have all the solutions that you're seeking, but the beauty is when you don't know what you're doing, you need to do something. You need to figure out a way for you to still show up for yourself with what makes sense for where you're at in life, and you need to not give up. That is the best advice that I can give. I've had so many experiences where I thought I can't. I mean, sometimes even now, I'll be denied, or, for example, I applied for the Sports Illustrated swimsuit search for 2025, and I was not chosen. And it made me sad a little bit, because I'm like, man, I feel like I would be perfect for this. Like I feel like this would be such a great opportunity. And just because I didn't win this year doesn't mean that I'll never win. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to try next year either. It's just not supposed to happen right now. And I think in life we have to get used to not getting what we want in the moment that we want it, and just continuing to show up and to be patient with ourselves and to be patient with where we're at in life. I could look around me and I could make so many things a problem and find so many things to complain about. But every day I wake up and I look around me and I choose to be grateful. I choose to write in my journal and I say, the things that I'm grateful for, because when we get used to saying things that we're grateful for, it distracts the mind from paying attention to everything that we don't have, or the people that we don't have in our life. So I encourage you, if you're someone that's thinking negatively and you're doubting yourself and you think that you can't do something, write on a piece of paper what you're grateful for. And when you look at all the things that you're grateful for, you'll have a moment to yourself like, oh wow, like I am so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful to have these people in my life. I'm so grateful to experience the things that I have in life. There's so many things that we can actually just have gratitude towards, And so I think that the idea of thinking that we can't, I think that we all endure that feeling. I think there's not a successful person that hasn't had a moment of like, do I think I can do this? Or, and I never really thought about it as like, I'm going to make it one day. It was like, I literally have to make it. I have to figure out a way. there has to be a path that makes sense for Miranda, because I have nothing else to fall back on. It's a mindset shift. Do I have moments where, I doubt myself? Yeah, absolutely. But that doesn't mean I'm going to give up on myself. That doesn't mean that when I'm faced with adversity that I'm going to choose to just, I'm good on that. No, I'm going to fight harder. Anytime that I've ever felt like a failure, I've tried more. And I actually shared this on my story today, but there has truly never been a time in my life where I sat in bed all day and cried about my life or where I'm at. I've literally never done that. If anything, I will take a few moments to myself, a few minutes, whether that's an hour or what have you, and sometimes I will just cry. I will just sit and I will cry, but then after that I will go to the bathroom, I will wash my face, I will get ready, and with whatever I'm doing, I attack it so much harder. And I encourage you, if you are somebody that is an emotional person and you struggle with showing up for yourself, and then also feeling so deeply, make time to feel but still be productive during the day. I encourage you to yeah, be sad, but use that as fuel to get through your day. Use that as fuel to, find a better relationship. Use that as fuel to be able to look back at yourself 6 months ago and be like, I don't even know who that person was anymore. You don't need to react to everything. You don't need to always give this like negative response in your life just because life isn't going the way you want. Yeah, we all go through hardship. We're all on our own path and journey, and we're all just trying to figure it out one day at a time. All right, that is a wrap for this YouTube video. Thank you so much for watching. Your support means the world to me, and I'm excited to continue on with this series. And before I go, I just wanted to say that you are a beautiful person, you are special, you are loved, and you are cherished by so many. And I encourage you to continue showing up for yourself, even when it's hard. And believe me, I do know that a lot of us are struggling with things that are never talked about, but just know that you are not alone in this life. God is with you every step of the way. I will catch you on the next one. Bye.